Robin Dorian of the Current Affair Reporting. Well, that's where we'll take another break. In a moment, the British aeronautical engineer who now researches UFOs. Back to this Newsline special about UFOs. At the end of the last part, we heard an American scientist express scepticism about alien craft, but some other scientists insist there is proof of visitors from other planets. Among them is Roy Dutton, an aeronautical engineer who worked for British Aerospace for 37 years. Now he investigates sightings of UFOs. Good evening, Mr. Dutton.
Good evening.
We've seen the film there that there are all sorts of reports of unidentified flying objects, but where's the hard evidence that they exist?
Well, the hard evidence exists for those who look for it, as I did. 25 years ago, I began looking at the sightings in my own area.
Now, you've been spending more than 20 years investigating this evidence. What kind of evidence have you got?
Virtually every kind of evidence, except a piece of one of the vehicles. I have looked into the descriptions that people have given me, that I've obtained from the reports, and I have looked at the patterns of behavior, and I've looked finally at the global patterns, which indicate to me that we are dealing with an astronautical activity, which is not of this Earth.
So exactly what kind of evidence are you talking about?
The evidence, in the first place, is the behavior of the vehicles that people describe, and the kind of places which are visited. And they do seem to fit a very interesting pattern, which is not unreasonable, in that they are interesting places for someone keeping an eye on human activity.
Well, if we start from the very beginning, what presumably you start with is a reported sighting.
Yes.
And you work from there. Now, you've brought along this globe, which you use to actually trace the patterns of, well, future landings, is what you're talking about, or future sightings.
Yes, this globe is just a demonstration model, really, to show the sort of thing I discovered. I discovered that the locations on the Earth's surface could be, of the sightings, close encounter sightings, could be related to the stars in a meaningful way.
And I take it, if I can just show there, that these metal bars indicate the position of these space objects in the atmosphere.
Well, the point on the Earth's surface I showed could be linked by great circle arcs, this kind, great circle hoops, around the world, which are actually indicative of satellite operations.
And we can see there a slide of the Earth traces you're talking about.
No, those are typical traces, which I discovered, associated with these hoops against the star field. Those are the spiraling ground traces of some of these hoops. I discovered that there were the whole thing was so structured that it was possible in the end to predict when something was likely to occur in any location as a result of the structured and pre-programmed type of activity that I discovered.
What you're saying is that all these sightings conform to a particular pattern. In fact, you're saying more than that. You're saying that all the sightings are linked, even loosely, one to another, aren't they?
Yes, by this structured astronautical strategy. So we have certain orientations relative to the stars, which are favoured, and which are used time and time again. And there are key points on the Earth's surface, which these things are key to.
You see, one of the things that people find it fairly easy to accept is the idea of a UFO. Most people don't dismiss the idea out of hand, but they would find that theory very hard to grasp, wouldn't they?
Yes, it's difficult to grasp without some background in astronomical principles and also astronautics. And I found great difficulty in getting scientists who can actually validate what I discovered.
Are you in fact telling me that you can predict where a sighting could be recorded next month, for example?
No, I wouldn't know which area is going to be targeted next. I could say that if some area, like Gulf Breeze, is being targeted time and time again, then I would be able to to predict what time of day or night we should go out looking for.
And you're saying Gulf Breeze is the town in Florida we've just seen in that report.
Yeah.
You're saying that you would know roughly what day of the week, what time of day. It would all conform to a pattern, in other words.
Well, not which day of the week. It could be any day of the week. But on a particular day, we could go out and look in the likely places and at certain times, and those times would be very close to the actual time of appearance.
Are there some places that are more targeted, should I say, by possible alien spacecraft than others?
Yes, there are, and it does seem that this is linked to the strategy being used. It is also linked to human activity on the Earth's surface. So if we have a major development going on, a major new motorway system, or a new school, new industrial complex, and so on, a military base, then we can guarantee, I think, that a UFO sighting will occur, at least one, possibly several, in that area.
And one of your theories is that just the way we do exploratory missions to the moon, we send spacecraft up to Venus and Mars, that's what's happening to us. People are particularly interested in these sites because they're on investigative missions.
Yes. I believe we're under continuous scrutiny by an advanced species from somewhere out there in space. At least one species, there may be several.
What kind of species? That's also the other thing that people find it difficult to grasp. They can accept the idea of an object, but the idea of an alien nation is something that people do think is a complete fantasy.
Yes, it takes a lot of adjustment to one's thinking, but I think it's not unreasonable that there are such civilizations out there.
And very briefly, from all the reports I've seen, all the diagrams and the drawings and reported sightings, all these people look exactly the same. They all look like humans, which rather indicates that they are the product of some people's imaginations.
Yes, well, they could be in some cases, but there does seem to be so much commonality, really, between one report and another. It does seem to suggest that there are a number of different types being encountered. But a lot of this information does come from regression and hypnotic regression.
Okay, Roy Dutton, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
That's all from Newsline for now. Please do join me for the next edition. But for me for now, it's goodbye. The news is next.